Welcome, Mr. Gnome, and welcome to this crypto update. Now, today is a little bit special show because do have to talk about the attacks on Iran made by Israel, because those had an immediate effect on the Bitcoin price and obviously crypto prices more than Bitcoin. So the markets basically tanked for a brief time. Now they are basically recovering already. But I will talk about exactly what's going on with the attacks and some maybe insights that you might not see otherwise. But the most of the show will be obviously focused on Bitcoin and crypto because we do see more adoption on that front as well. So first, let me actually address what's going on in Iran. So the number one thing to look at, in my opinion, is the statement coming from the White House, and this is basically just a copy-paste version of what Marco Rubio said, and this was published at 2 a.m. in the British time. So tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in the strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear: Iran should not target US interests or personnel. Now, that is a quite a interesting statement. And what's important to me about this statement is the timing. So this came out exactly at 2 a.m., almost immediately after the attacks happened in Iran. But what's telling about this is when I hop over to Truth Social and we take a look at what Donald Trump has been posting. He was posting at 10 p.m., so basically 4 hours before the attacks, that we remain committed to a diplomatic resolution to the Iran nuclear issue. My entire administration has been directed to negotiate with Iran. They could be a great country, but they first must completely give up hopes of obtaining a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, what's telling to me about this is that this signals that Donald Trump had no idea that this attack was taking place, because he's talking about a diplomatic resolution, whereas an attack of this scale that was done against Iran, you cannot do that within a span of a couple of hours. You have to have days of preparation. And when you actually take a look at it, you know that USA has been telling the embassy staff to evacuate in Iraq over fears that Israel is ready to attack Iran. And this basically was coming out of the news just yesterday. So USA knew the attacks were about to happen, but even as that is going on, Trump is basically saying that no, 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 no. We're focusing on a diplomatic resolution while they're evacuating personnel out of Iraq. And there's some reports coming out also that some of the attacks, at least, came straight out of Iraq, which implies that USA was behind these attacks because the Iraqi airspace is completely controlled by USA. So if the attacks are coming from Iraq, that means that these attacks were actually greenlit by USA. So whatever is going on, I don't know if Trump is in the know or he's just pretending to be basically out of the loop of the decision making of this whole issue. But all in all, it basically signals either incompetence or idiocracy from the side of Donald Trump. Because if his administration, all of these people, they basically had prepared statements like Marco Rubio. But if I hop over to Truth Social, there has not been any update from Donald Trump for 8 hours, even though the attack has already happened. So I don't know what's going on with Donald Trump. He only sleeps like 3 or 4 hours per night. He's a complete monster on that front. But you should expect that he would post some kind of an update. I don't know if he's furious on his stuff, what's going on, but this does not show or tell me that he is in control of the situation. It more like seems that the administration or the let's call it the deep state is working and trying to distract Donald Trump while they are doing whatever they have been doing under the Biden administration. And Marco Rubio, by the way, he received like $1 million from AIPAC on his campaign as well. And obviously, talking about AIPAC, AIPAC is now calling for America to stand with their ally. Obviously, AIPAC is one of the biggest lobbies in the United States, so they want all of their Congress people to basically support the attacks. And there were like 20 Congress people who already came out basically saying that we support Israel no matter what. And the infamous Lindsey Graham came out and said that game on, pray for Israel. And it's just interesting. I'm not going to complain too much of it, but continuing on the matter, Iran has actually given an official response. So this account on X, Iran military, is not an official account, but it's basically giving updates from the Iran military, or updates regarding the Iran military. But he is now reposting a statement coming from the armed forces of Iran. And they talk about God here, they talk about a lot about the martyrdom, and they actually congratulate, that was an interesting term here, congratulations on the martyrdom of these noble figures and who basically died in these attacks. You can see that Major General was killed here, another Major General was killed there, and another Major General was killed there, and as well as number of esteemed scientists, fellow citizens, and especially innocent women and children in a criminal and aggressive airstrike. So a lot of the attacks actually basically hit their marks. These generals and commanders got killed in the action, as well as some scientists who supposedly are building a nuclear weapon in Iran. So the attacks obviously were successful, but what's important in this statement here is that Iran is basically labeling these attacks as terrorist attacks, and they say that this Israel's attack will not go unanswered. Retaliation is now a solemn mission actively underway by Iran's armed forces and will continue until justice is delivered. And here, a Zionist occupying regime has crossed all red lines. Now there are no limits to Iran's response. With God's help and the full backing of our brave nation, the divine hand and vengeance will strike this bloodthirsty regime and its backers without hesitation, God willing. So this sounds to me like a declaration of war, and like I've been telling you guys on this channel is that we're basically headed for a World War III, and the main stage for this is obviously the Middle East. So now we are going to see how Iran actually responds, and we have already seen the first response, which is roughly, let me go all the way up here. They have launched more than 100 drones at Israel in retaliation against these attacks from 200 fighter jets, which basically came at Iran and Iran's nuclear facilities and all these different targets. Now, there's one more thing that I want to highlight from this this article here, which is ballistic missiles. So it's not this one. Let me see here. So the response from Iran is said to be similar to scope, which they actually did in October after Iran got hit from Israel once again. And Iran fired more than 200 drones, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles at Israel to overload their air defense systems. So we can expect much more than just 100 drones flying into Israel, basically from all of the rhetoric. Now, obviously, what this means for the world is a lot of uncertainty once again. But all in all, I don't think this is something at the moment that will shake the world completely. The price of oil may be going up, which is obviously against the MAGA agenda, but this is now going. And if it keeps escalating, as I think it will, then I might have to change my stance. Obviously, risky assets may not do too well in this environment. But then again, gold already went up in price, and Bitcoin is basically already recovering from its dump here. So it went all the way down to $103,000, which is basically what I called in my previous update. But instead, we got this high first, and then we went to $103,000. So right now, I'm actually expecting a bounce to the upside. Looking at the RSI here, you can see that we are almost in the oversold territory on the 4 hours. So I'm expecting a bounce back. But if the retaliation it basically depends on the scope of the retaliation from Iran, where I think the prices might go next. But it's a very annoying situation. I don't really like it. I fully don't support Israel. If you can understand my from my voice already, I think Israel is completely out of line here and basically undermining whatever Trump was trying to achieve diplomatically. But it is what it is. It happened, and we just have to basically go along with it. Now, going into the bullish news, a publicly traded gold miner company, Bluebird, has announced that they will start to mine Bitcoin. So it says that they will sell their gold to buy Bitcoin, but it's not really that they sell gold to buy Bitcoin. They basically sell gold already anyway, so they use cash to buy Bitcoin. So this statement here is a little bit false, but all in all, if they start buying Bitcoin, or mining Bitcoin, that's pretty cool. Then World Liberty Fi, they actually minted USD1 on Tron network. And as you guys know from my previous updates and all these things, I've been a Tron bull for a long period of time already. Tron actually hosts most amount of USDT on the planet out of any chain. It even overtook Ethereum as the #1 chain for USDT. And now USD1 is also being used on Tron network. And even Eric Trump made a comment about Tron, basically saying that more to come for Tron network. So this is a very cool development on this front. The price tanked a little bit on the Tron network price or TRX price. I actually expect it to bounce back, so I'm not selling my positions at all. Then Everest Pharma, the first German company, has now come out with a strategic Bitcoin reserve plan. So they have added another $10 million worth of Bitcoin in their balance sheets. So they are inspired by Michael Saylor's vision. So another country, another company, and also interesting about this is that this is a pharmaceutical company. So another field of companies joining the Bitcoin train as well. Then Michael Saylor, like I showed you guys on Monday's update, that they are about to buy more Bitcoin. They now finished a $110 million purchase. So that happened there. And then Bitcoin Magazine is saying here that a Japanese video game developer, Gumi, has purchased 1 billion yen worth of Bitcoin. So that is about 80 Bitcoin. I think that's is it $8 million roughly? But not a huge amount, but is still cool. More companies joining the bandwagon. So mostly all of the Bitcoin adoption that I see is coming basically from Japan and USA at this stage. And some other companies are joining, and countries are obviously joining as well. But most of these updates are currently coming from Japan and USA. Another Japanese company, ANAP, they announced that they will be buying Bitcoin in the future. So now they have actually bought 1,000 Bitcoin, or they will be buying 1,000 Bitcoin by August 2025. So they have a couple of months or a couple of months to buy 1,000 Bitcoin. So that's future demand, which is nice to see. A French company, the blockchain group, has raised $300 million to buy more Bitcoin as well. So very cool developments on this front as well. So the Bitcoin GameStop also has raised $1.75 billion to make investments in manner that is consistent with GameStop's investment policy. So that is cool because previously they announced that they will be buying Bitcoin as part of their investment policy. So most likely they will be buying Bitcoin in the immediate future as well. Then another bullish news that I saw is that a trade deal between USA and China is basically about to be done. It's basically just waiting a final approval with President Xi and Donald Trump. And the deal here is that USA will tariff Chinese goods with 55% tariff, and China will be tariffing US goods with a 10% tariff. Now, I don't really know if this is an actual deal that will be done, or if this is just something that Donald Trump is using to gain a little bit of leverage to basically push for a closing of a deal, because the deal has not been closed. And also, when you impose tariffs against any nation on the planet, you don't actually need to finalize per se a deal. You can simply announce that, okay, from now on this will be our tariff. So I feel like that will be more the case here rather than like a written full agreement. And I do believe that this is just a temporary thing anyway. I think it's about to change in the immediate future as well. But all in all, it's a positive signal for the markets, but it's still basically quite uncertain because Donald Trump is saying that the pause on the general tariffs against all of the nations on the planet, those will be paused for another 90 days as well. So all of this is still about on the brink of change. So we don't know what's the final product, if there will ever be a final deal coming from this administration. But all in all, it's still nice to see that at least some form of agreement is implied here. So hopefully that will be the case. And then just a side note that I want to touch on as well is the MAGA movement joined with the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, in the presidency. So I'm very happy to see that Dr. Malone is basically part of this new team that will help basically safeguard the vaccine developments. And whenever a vaccine gets into the market, this means that there will be rigorous safety tests before any vaccine can actually come to the market. So this is a massively positive news for the health of the planet. So I just wanted to share with you guys, just outside of the all of the war news, I was super excited to see this. And Dr. Malone was one of the only doctors that publicly came out. He was one of the inventors of the mRNA vaccine technology to basically uh, say something bad about the COVID mRNA vaccines back in the day. So I'm very happy to see more skeptics basically join the board of the I don't know what the Committee on Immunization Practices. So those are basically the news on Bitcoin. Now looking at the fundamentals, like I told you guys that I would expect to see more inflows from the ETF side into Bitcoin. That's basically what we have seen throughout the week. So roughly $1 billion worth of inflows have come to the ETFs. I would not be surprised if the next day will be a red candle here because of the shock from the Iran attack, and people basically want to safeguard against the shock here. But overall, the Bitcoin train is continuing to go to the upside. I believe so, and I do also believe that this is just a temporary thing anyway. Even if the war escalates, I still believe that Bitcoin will be one of the winners at the end anyway. Now, going into the fundamental side of Bitcoin, looking at the supply of Bitcoin on exchange reserves, unfortunately, we are now seeing a slight bump to the upside here, which means that people have been depositing Bitcoin onto exchanges. And most often, when they want to deposit Bitcoin on exchanges, they actually want to sell their Bitcoin. So, this is not exactly what I want to see, but this is also what has happened. So, if we see another leg to the downside, I would not be super surprised about it. But I think all of the selling here is temporary because the buying is just so big at the moment. Even the Trump media said that they will be buying more Bitcoin, like I showed you in the previous update, that they are raising $12 billion to basically buy Bitcoin and for other investments as well. But that's basically what happened there. Looking at the stablecoin market cap, that has increased throughout this week as well, which is cool to see. That is nice. On the on-chain metrics here, looking at old wallets, we are not seeing too much of selling, even though we saw this dump here. Maybe this will change by by Monday. I will make an update either on Monday or Tuesday. So let's see how things go from this escalation here. But at least as of now, we're basically not seeing a lot of selling on chain on this front here. Now, this was a huge anomaly here, this massive spike, and I don't exactly know what caused all of this movement here. I feel like this is mostly an error, and also one of the exchanges, I think it was Bitfinex, they made a huge move here with their Bitcoin stash. I think they USDT or Tether, they moved some of the funds from Bitfinex to their own uh, wallets or something like that that caused this huge spike here. So I would basically discount most of this huge spike here. But all in all, not seeing a lot of old Bitcoin being moved, which is nice to see as well. So those are basically the fundamentals. Mostly is pretty good here, but what I'm really worried about is the supply on exchange reserves going up, which is signaling a short-term, basically sell pressure for Bitcoin. Now, going into the short-term fundamentals, looking at the spot order book depth, showing us the difference between limit buy and limit sell orders. Here you can see that this actually peaked here on a delta of $174 million more sell orders than buy orders within a 3% price move from the price point on the 4-hour time frame. So that was basically the peak here. And since then, you can see that now at $103,000, we are seeing quite a bit of buying, basically entering the limit order, entering the order books. So let's see if this buy wall holds, but the buyers are definitely in place buying these dips here. So that's nice to see. At the same time, futures markets basically agree that this is bullish, so they are still on the buy side. But as you can see here, this is always funny when the futures markets basically disagree with the spot markets. The spot markets were selling here, but the futures markets were buying. That is typically when you see that the futures markets will take a beating and they will get liquidated. I think it was like $330 million worth of assets got liquidated in this dump here. So this is always a good signal. The same also here, you can see that the spot markets were, the futures markets were selling here, and the spot markets were basically buying at the same price range. So the futures people got liquidated to the upside as well. So right now, the both of them basically agree, which is nice to see. It basically creates a good, solid foundation for the price. I think it's gonna go up from here. But when the futures market basically turned bullish, that could signal that we actually head for more downside for a final push to the down, and then we finally go to the upside again. So that's basically that analysis. On the liquidation side, you can see that we still have this hot zone below 100K. It's basically bright yellow, but at the same time, you can see above the current price range here, we see another yellow hot zone at $111,000. So a snap basically both ways. I hope that we first have a little bit of a pullback to the upside. We go to something like 108K, then we go flush out this liquidation pocket and then continue to the upside. Now, like I've told you many times in the past, there is a potential that Bitcoin would go to like 90K or so. That could happen if Israel and Iran really start to butt heads against each other. So it depends on the retaliation of Iran, what's going to happen next. But all in all, this is the situation here. Quite a lot of uncertainty, but the fundamentals, in my opinion, for Bitcoin still look quite strong. Now, on this short time frame, though, looking at Bitcoin here, there's a couple of lines that I want to show you guys. First is obviously this line here that got broken to the downside here. And then we got rejected on this trend line, and then we went to the downside. So this trend line, horizontal line, this is now a major resistance, $110,000. That's why you have a lot of liquidations basically at $111,000. So that will be a little bit hard to break. So what I kind of expect in the short term now is that we go to like 108K, and then we actually go and tag that 99K price level here. And this is another reason why I think this makes a lot of sense is basically this trend line here. or you can maybe you can even do something like this. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but it's basically bringing price back to this level here. So from there, I think we will go to the upside once again. But there's again just so much uncertainty. One tweet, one ball can change this whole landscape once again. But overall, Bitcoin is quite bullish. The long-term trend is to the upside, uh, and yeah, what else can I really say? 90k. That would basically be my like a very high conviction long play if we go to 90k. But all in all, we're like in the middle right now, so maybe you want to wait a little bit before making decisive moves. But I actually bought this dip already, so I'm hoping to get that bounce, sell some of my assets then, and then wait for a more of a pullback because of this new uncertainty here. But overall, we're still gonna be heading up, so most of my positions are still long. So that's the update I got for you guys today. Now, if you want to trade these markets, you know I'm sponsored by Femex.com. It's a phenomenal exchange, and you can get nice welcome rewards when you join here. You don't have to do KYC, and the fees are basically half of other exchanges when you do leverage trading. So it's a very good exchange to get started with. So use my link in the description or use this invitation code for more bonuses. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and I will pray for peace in the world. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.